Hey guys, it's Simeon. This is Pro Wrestling Unlimited. As my audio is very loud, let's turn that down. And we are here to talk about everything that went down tonight at WWE Hell in a Cell. I've got Joel Pearl with me. You may recognize him from the weekly draw here on the PWUnlimited YouTube channel or from the Tim and Joel Call It in the Ring podcast. Joel, what's going on?
And what a night. We're all the way back in 2010, it feels. That was
right?
That was an interesting way to go off the air, I'd say.
I mean, the WWE on Fox Twitter account sent out a very interesting tweet earlier. It literally said, I don't hear Joel anymore.
Well, I'm still here.
There you go. It looked like you were talking. Right. I didn't hear you. Must have been a glitch on my end. Anyways, they sent out an interesting tweet stating that 10 years ago, Randy Orton was WWE champion and Miz had won Money in the Bank. And now, look where we are in 2020. As you said, we're back in 2010.
Everything old is new again, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they play this out, maybe where Drew factors in, and where anyone else who has recently joined the Raw roster factors in to this main world title scene.
Right, and that's the interesting thing, we'll talk about it more later, is now what do you do with McIntyre? Did he just get another shot and try to regain the title from Randy Orton, or does he move on?
I think we're going to see this a couple more times. I mean, next month being Survivor Series, it's going to be wear your colors and brand supremacy. But then we'll get to TLC, and I have a feeling Randy and Drew might renew their rivalry.
Well, wear your colors maybe for everybody. Remember, last year, the main world titles, the Universal, WWE, and NXT titles were all defended instead of those champions being in the 5-on-5 matches.
It's a very good point.
So we could get that again. But with that, guys, I want to thank you for joining us here, twitch.tv/PWUnlimited. We're here, we're talking about Hell in a Cell, and I want to say, if you want to support us, you can do so in a couple of different ways. You can either hit that donation button down below, give us some bits, or a subscription. You can either do a tiered subscription or an Amazon Prime subscription, because with Amazon Prime, not only can you watch the new Borat movie where he tries to sell his daughter off to Mike Pence, but you can subscribe to us here on Twitch for absolutely no extra cost. As long as you're paying for Amazon Prime, you get Prime Gaming, and you can subscribe to any one Twitch channel you want to subscribe to for a full month. And as I've been stating recently, everything that we make here on Twitch going forward for the foreseeable future will go into a fund to help families in need that have been displaced here in Central California due to the Creek Fire. I know a couple families personally that I grew up with. One family lost their home. A couple other families are living with relatives about 30, 45 minutes away from where they live. And let's help them out, people. Let's help them out. Every little bit helps. But with that, we're here to talk about Hell in a Cell. Joel, did you watch the Kickoff show?
Oh, you bet I did.
All right.
It was around dinner time, so it made sense for me to kick it off and watch the show.
So I got an interesting message during the Kickoff show from just some random Twitter account. I don't know who this person was, but they go, "Why is Jeff Jarrett on the Kickoff show? I've never seen him on the Kickoff show again. Is this WWE trying to keep him away from Bound for Glory in his hometown?" I died. Yeah, it made no sense to me either.
Does anyone want to explain to him that Jarrett's in another lawsuit?
Right?
With his former employer?
I was like,
creative?
I just messaged back and I go, he works for WWE. Even if he wanted to, I don't think he can appear for Impact Wrestling, and they're not on good terms.
No.
And I never got a response back from that. It was probably just some troll message, but I found it a little funny.
Quite frankly, Jeff Jarrett is the most amazing, lucky businessman in professional wrestling, in that he will continuously land on his feet somehow, some way. Wasn't the last court case thrown out because the judge freaking died?
Something like that.
And on top of that, everybody in not everyone, but a large number of people were furloughed in WWE during the beginning of the pandemic,
including him.
Jarrett kept his friggin' job.
Yeah. So, hey.
Oh, here we go.
It works for him. Keep it going. Anyways, also on the Kickoff panel, we did have, I I always forget his name. Rosenberg. What's his first name again? I always forget his first name.
Pete Rosenberg.
Pete Rosenberg. For some reason, I always want to call him Paul Rosenberg. We also had Booker T, Jerry the King Lawler, who really didn't contribute much at all, I felt.
He had one line that popped me.
Which one?
He said, oh man, I had it written down and I put it on Twitter. Now I can't remember. Oh, it was about Elias's new album wasn't released. It escaped.
Oh, gotcha.
It was a nice groan-inducing comment from Lawler.
So we did have one match on the Kickoff show that they announced earlier today. We had R-Truth defending the 24/7 championship against Drew Gulak. And the match actually went like 5.5 minutes long, a lot longer than I expected. And it was, as you would expect, nothing more than a comedy match. Gulak pretended to high-five little Jimmy before pretending to kick him. So, Joel, let me ask you, can you file child abuse on an invisible little boy?
No, but I will rename Drew Gulak Drew Snitsky.
Oh, Lord. I didn't even think about that one.
Here's I have one question. As this match started, now Truth comes to the ring, does his full rap, does the whole thing. But why wouldn't Drew come up to Truth from behind, roll him up, get a quick 3? Because that is the 24/7 championship.
Well, remember, when a official 24/7 title match starts, all those rules are out and no one can interfere till, oh, well, no. You're saying before the bell.
Before the bell, because because he's just out there rapping.
Because between the bell, from bell to bell, no one can interfere. So if it was before, yeah, why not when he's distracted?
That's right.
Like I stated, this is basically a 5.5 minute comedy match. Not much happened. Truth did John Cena's comeback and eventually won with the jackknife cover. Akira Tozawa and Lucha House Party ran down. They chased off Truth. Gulak all of a sudden appeared at the Kickoff panel and basically just said, Truth's childhood hero John Cena sucks. Okay.
Gulak and Cena at WrestleMania.
Oh, Lord. Actually, that wouldn't be half bad.
No, Gulak could carry that match very, very well. Also, the Lucha House Ninjas, I guess I'm ready for that.
Yeah? Why not? I mean, what else did you expect for them on Monday Night Raw?
Exactly. But you know what? Truth going on 49 years old in January and still wrestling in that caliber. That's awesome.
You would never expect it.
Yeah, he's insane, and I love it.
He moves around like freaking Mansoor, who's maybe, 30? Like, he moves around like a guy on 205 Live.
Yep. No, it's insane. You never would expect it, but the man keeps up, and he's had one hell of a career, and it's still going. And
not only does he move well, I would not expect him looking at him. I could maybe say, oh, what is he, 39, 40? I would not think he's almost 50 years old.
Right.
So Mustafa Ali cut a promo backstage with Retribution all behind him. Basically, he said, hey, one member of Retribution against one member of Hurt Business. And you get to pick both competitors in this match. Talking to Hurt Business, that is. He told MVP that he gets to make all the decisions. Charlie Caruso then announced that Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso would open up the show. So the opening contest was... Go for it.
But that was announced. That's not the choice I would have made.
No.
And I think a lot of people agreed with me on that, but as we saw, and we'll get into the match, it was the right decision.
Oh, well, see, here was my thinking of it. You open it up with probably the hottest match going into the night because you want to make sure early you're attracting people over from football, from baseball, and the NASCAR race that never happened because it got rained out. But you think, okay, we're going to say Roman Reigns and Jey Usos right now. So you have to come watch now, no matter what else you're watching. And then that match would be so good that you forget to change back and you just keep watching. I understand why that match went on first, but with the way the show played out in the end, I think the way this match ended should have been how the show ended.
Yeah, I think you have a very good point in that. It was a really good ending to that match that could have that would have been very impactful at the end of the night for sure.
So in I guess you could say, way to symbolize himself as the higher power in the tribe, Roman Reigns wore a gold glove instead of a black glove like he normally wears. Basically say, hey, I'm wearing the gold. I've got gold on my hand. That's because I'm the chief. Early on, basically, early on, Reigns hit a shoulder block. Michael Cole said he established early dominance less than 1 minute into the match. Reigns followed this up with a series of clotheslines, but Jey came back with some strikes and consecutive suicide dives into the side of the cell. You could then hear Jey just yell, "Shit," as he rammed Reigns repeatedly into the cell. They tried to bleep it, but missed it a couple times. Jey then set up for something in the ring, but Reigns speared him instead. Reigns went to the outside, where Jey caught him with a drop kick. Reigns then choked him with his right hand, the golden glove, and then hit another spear. And at one point, when he hit that first spear, Roman said, "I knew one spear wasn't going to be enough, but in 5 to 10 minutes, you're going to be wishing that you said I quit now." I thought that was a nice line. Reigns tried another one, but Jey gave him a super kick, and then consecutive Uso splashes, but Reigns wouldn't quit. Jey grabbed a leather strap and turned this match into a strap match, basically, as both men put the strap around their wrist and started beating each other with it. Jey whipped Reigns in the back 3 times. Reigns accidentally got up after the third shot and speared Jey. Jey said that he couldn't breathe but refused to quit. Roman repeatedly whipped Jey with the strap. Reigns tied the strap around Jey's arm and whipped him again, and you hear loud booing from the fake crowd. Jey then came back with fists and a super kick. Again, couldn't keep Roman down. At one point, Jey grabbed a steel chair, and he nailed Roman with it. He then applied a choke with the strap, but Roman's hair was so wet that he couldn't get the strap wrapped around Roman's head, and it kept sliding off. So finally, he just bunched it all together and just yanked it. I kind of laughed at that. So going forward, Reigns used the drive-by, and Jey wouldn't say anything. He wouldn't say, "I quit." He wouldn't say, "I don't quit." No, nothing. And the ref was just like, "Hey, if he doesn't say anything, I can't end the match." And the ref's like, "Jey, give me an answer. Jey, just quit. Jey." And Jey wouldn't say anything. Jey wouldn't quit. But the ref's like, "I don't know what to do here. Do I end the match? Do I wait for him to respond?" And finally the ref just goes, I got to do it. I got to call the match. And Roman jumps in the ring, grabs the referee and goes, you don't end this till I say you end this. And he throws the ref out of the ring. So at this point, a bunch of more referees, Adam Pearce, Jamie Noble, and a few others run down to try and stop Roman. Roman then gets out of the ring, takes the cell door and slams it and goes, "We don't need this open right now." He then chucked the steel steps into the ring, which caused all the officials to look scared and run away, and Jamie Noble jumped about 5 feet up trying to not be hit by the steps. Reigns then taunted Jey before lifting up the steps to finally kill him. But one thing that Roman forgot to do when he closed that door was lock the door, because Jey Uso came in. Jimmy ran in, jumped on top of his brother just like he did at Clash of Champions to protect him. Jimmy asked Reigns, "What's wrong with you?" And Reigns said, "I don't know." Reigns then sat in the middle of the ring and began to cry, saying, "I don't know what's come over me. I don't know who I've become." But this was all a ploy by the tribal chief. As, Jimmy thought that he finally broke Reigns down, Reigns grabbed him and put him in a guillotine choke. Jey finally got his wits about him, and he tried to pull Jey out from Roman's grasp. Roman wouldn't let go, so he said, "Fine, I quit, let him go. I quit, let Jimmy go." And Roman Reigns does win the match and, retains the Universal Championship. After the match, as Roman Reigns is walking up the ramp, Afa and Sika, his father and uncle, are there to congratulate him and embrace him as the tribal chief, as the one true leader of the tribe. I thought that was something that would have been a perfect way to end the show. But here's my question to you. When did the Usos' father, big Rikishi, come in and try to be on their side, since Afa and Sika are on Roman's side?
I've got that in my notes too. I'm waiting for Rikishi to make an appearance. And that whole match was just screamed intensity, and that last moment up, that was intense.
It was intense. It was brutal. It was aggressive, and it was emotional. And I'm not just talking about Roman crying.
I was also half expecting Roman to basically kill Pat Buck, Jamie Noble, and Adam Pearce. But the fact that he decided not to was probably because he's a smart wrestler. He knows that he could have played the role that I beat him up, I got fined, but I got all the money in the world, so I don't give a damn. But instead, he wanted to make the match all about humbling his cousin Jey. And I was a big fan of that. He kept it very much a family-centric issue.
Exactly.
And that's the way the show should go. That's the way the match should have gone, and it's perfect. The storytelling in that match, as expected, was just phenomenal.
But I mean, I think everybody's really expecting the real tribal chief to show up in time for WrestleMania, The Rock, and come out here and say, hey, you're not doing good by the family. Here's my prediction on how I would have The Rock come in. The Rock's, been at home doing what he's got to do, and then finally realizes that Roman's messing up and saying, you're not doing good by the family, you're doing harm by the family. I need to put you in your place, and that's how we get Roman versus The Rock WrestleMania.
There's room to do it. There
Exactly.
absolutely is. The question is going to become whether or not the movie studios and anyone else who's involved in bankrolling and ensuring The Rock are willing to make that happen. And the idea of The Rock appearing on Impact Wrestling programming and then WWE programming within a 6-month span, I think is really funny, but also it's right. I mean, that's the way the story should be going. It should be leading up to a match against The Rock.
Now, I think Impact did Rock dirty, though, last night, because they didn't even air his full speech. They actually cut it for the pre-show last night.
Yeah, I noticed that. On top of it, the one thing that Impact was going to do all night was tout about how they got The Rock. And they've been retweeting it and reposting it and putting it anywhere to anyone who'll listen. We got The Rock. When in reality, this whole thing started because Ken Shamrock sent a tweet out saying, hey, Rock, do you want to induct me? And Rock was like, yeah, I like you enough. I don't think Ken Shamrock and The Rock are best friends. They're not exchanging Christmas cards, that's for sure.
I'm not saying I have any knowledge on this, but I wouldn't think they're two guys that talk often.
No, but that's the thing. The Rock is just the nicest guy that no one says anything negative about because he goes out of his way for just about anyone.
Correct.
He bought his stunt double a truck because he got injured. He'll go out of his way for the right people.
I remember he bought Haku. You say he bought Haku a truck, and he says, "This was thanks for letting me wear your gear in my first match," or something like that. Merry Christmas.
So wrong.
But going forward, as Alpha and Sika were, I guess you could say, embracing Roman, the Usos were just in the ring, just stunned, like, what the hell are we looking at? And that's why I think the only way to keep this going is to have Rikishi come out and be like, yo, what are we doing here? And then you get Alpha and Sika, and then he's like, why are you embracing him? Look what he's doing to the family. He's not really. And then maybe Rikishi's the one that brings The Rock in. I did it for The Rock. Rock, I need you now.
20 years later, Rikishi's trying to do right by The Rock.
Right.
The idea of that, it works. At the same time, I still think that some of the younger members of the Anoa'i family are the ones who need to come and be a part of this storyline. The problem is the ones that are most notable are currently signed to other promotions.
Right.
And I'm talking Jacob Fatu. You have Sean Maluta, who's still on the Indies, but I don't think people really know that he is part of the family. And then you have Nia Jax, which I think would be a very interesting play to bring Nia in and then bring Tamina in and kind of expand on that a little bit. It's not going to be the best match or the best story, but it's a way to kind of involve the women's side of the family if they want to go that way. But for now, I think having Jimmy and Jey and Rikishi and then Roman with Alpha and Sika telling that story, that's gold. Because now you have Jey and Jimmy who have to bend the knee and have to do their thing on SmackDown.
Exactly. And I mean, we'll see how it all does go. It'll be interesting to see, because if the ultimate goal is to get Roman versus The Rock at WrestleMania, that's, like you said, like 6 months away. How do you keep this going that long before you bring The Rock in? You can't just bring The Rock in now and be like, I'm coming for you, Roman, and then he disappears till March, February.
We did that before when he came in around, was it before, well, we were doing the year-long build-up to WrestleMania against John Cena. They brought him in for that random Survivor Series tag, and then he came back to the Royal Rumble and won. But in between, he was just either showing up randomly via satellite or maybe on a random Raw, but it was never, it was never straight. It was usually once in a while.
Exactly. But like I said, with them putting the lay on Roman and embracing him, I thought that would have been a great just thing to fade out on at the end of the show. It wasn't. We got a fade out of Randy Orton, which kind of was underwhelming, and we'll get to that. But next up, we had Elias taking on Jeff Hardy. And basically they were like, we don't want either guy to lose, so we're going to do a DQ after almost 8 minutes.
Guitar and a pole match tomorrow night on Raw.
Oh, Lord, don't go there.
I bet you.
So Hardy set up for a swanton early, but Elias rolled outside of the ring. Hardy was on top of the ring post and thought he might do a senton outside of the ring, but fortunately thought better of it and didn't do it. Ultimately, he instead went outside, grabbed the guitar and said, I don't care about winning or losing. I'm going to smash this guitar right over your back, right in front of the referee. Caused a DQ. Elias picks up the victory. And I love on commentary, they were like, why does Elias think Jeff Hardy is the one that actually ran him over? We know it was somebody with red hair and a red beard. And I think it was Joe that tried to say something about, I've seen red on Jeff Hardy before. I'm like, really? You're trying to justify this when it makes absolutely no sense? I don't know. But Jeff Hardy loses. Elias picks up the victory. Disqualification. Wasn't really much to it.
No, there wasn't. And you know what? If both men had stayed on SmackDown, you could maybe make the play that Sami Zayn drove the car. He's another redheaded guy.
Maybe.
And then make it out the Intercontinental Championship again. But that story kind of needed to go. Who's the real Intercontinental Champion? With Elias, listen, he's great as a heel, and I can't wait to listen to Universal Truth. But as my other Tim co-host has said, I wouldn't be surprised if this whole Elias storyline is somehow rooted in Vince McMahonism, where he thinks that, everything is fake news and it doesn't matter what you're told, it's what you believe. So the idea here is that Elias just doesn't believe that Sheamus was driving the car, that it was actually Jeff Hardy, and no one can tell him otherwise. And it's kind of, if it's going to get you into the mind of Vince McMahon, I wouldn't be terribly shocked.
Very true. So going forward, we saw Elias cut a promo in the back with Kayla Braxton and Tucker, and he got very angry towards The Miz. Didn't do his normal, wacky Otis promo where he's like, oh yeah. He kind of slipped it in there, but he was more serious than ever in this promo, and I enjoyed that because he knew the stakes going into this match and was actually taking it serious. So going forward, we did have The Miz versus Otis with the Money in the Bank briefcase on the line. Cole said that this was the second match ever where Money in the Bank could be transferred over since it was on the line. And it's not true. Because as I was notified, because I thought this was the third time this has ever happened. But apparently this is like the fifth time or sixth time that the Money in the Bank briefcase has been on the line. Because I said it on, I think it was the SmackDown review I did. I was like, yeah, this is the third time. And I had everybody in the chat, no, there was this one. No, there was this one. I know, I think Dolph and John Cena had a ladder match for the Money in the Bank briefcase at one point. Edge and Kennedy, Damian Sandow and Cody Rhodes. And I think there was a few others as well. So Michael Cole needed to be fact-checked there.
I think Cole was really just tipping his hand is what he was doing.
True.
Because what it was this was the second time that a Money in the Bank holder lost his Money in the Bank without losing a match.
Foreshadowing. So John Morrison. Basically, not much happened in this match. John Morrison at one point jumped up on the apron when the ref was distracted, tried to hit Otis with the briefcase, and the referee saw him and kicked him out. Tucker then grabbed the briefcase and basically stood there, had the briefcase in hand. Miz and Otis kept going. Otis rolled up Miz with a schoolboy, only got a 2 off of it. Otis then followed this up with a discus clothesline for a near fall. Otis was then whipped off the ropes, and as he came towards Tucker, Tucker nailed him with the briefcase. Otis fell to the mat. Miz shocked more than anybody. Miz had that shocked face like his eyes were bugging out of his head, didn't know what he just saw, pinned Otis, and he's now Mr. Money in the Bank. So, does he get to cash in on Randy Orton again?
He gets to cash in wherever he wants because that's what he said in his post-match interview.
I was going to ask that too. When
makes no sense.
When the Money in the Bank briefcase or the Money in the Bank match happened this year, they said when you win, you can only challenge your champion. But since Miz didn't win it technically in that match, do those rules not apply for him and he can do what he wants with it?
My notes, the brand split is dead.
Oh, yeah.
With the draft. Because we saw it on Monday with El Gran Gordo.
Yes, very evident.
But just in talking with this story, there was no need for it. It's just how we're going to move forward, I guess. Otis has lost luster somehow because, we had other people come back who were bigger, like Roman Reigns. So as a result, the idea of having Otis become a main event player was just kind of thrown by the wayside, or no one wanted to take him seriously. So next thing you know, that was out. The turn with Tucker, kind of saw it coming. Otis saying that the Miz broke them up, and then kind of Tucker looking away, not paying much attention. Kind of that drew my eyes. And also, when Morrison dropped the briefcase on his way out, Tucker just sat there looking at it. It just kind of he leaned into it a little too hard, so it didn't do much for me.
Right. I mean, yeah, it makes sense to have Tucker do it, but then they asked Tucker backstage, "Hey, why did you do it?" And he was like, "Because I was always made to play second fiddle to Otis. It was always tag in Otis so he gets the hot tag. Tag in Otis so he could do the caterpillar." And it's like, I'm fed up with it. So it makes sense. But then it starts a feud with guys on separate brands, which doesn't make sense unless this is a Survivor Series thing.
And that's the only way that it's going to work. And quite frankly, all I want from Tucker right now is a haircut and a shave, and I want him to lean out, and I want him to look like JBL, because you know what? After
Lord.
JBL played the judge, I want to see that. I want to see that from Tucker. He's a big guy. He's good in the ring. He just needs to look the part and get that oomph about him, get that persona going, and he has a real opportunity to rack up some wins and actually build up to be a main event player on his own. Again, he's a big guy. He's the type of guy that Vince McMahon should love, but there's just something about his look right now that he might not be seeing. I think all the money's on Tucker once he does something to change up the heavy machinery look.
Right, and you saying like he's a Vince McMahon, got the look of what Vince likes as a big guy. Remember, when they did that Greatest Royal Rumble, he was brought over there because they wanted as many big guys as possible.
He also ran the tryouts for that time.
Right.
When they were doing the Saudi tryouts.
Mm-hmm.
So they're stalking Tucker.
Yes, very much so. So going forward, we had our second Hell in a Cell match. Actually, did I state how long the Reigns Uso match went? That went 29 minutes, the Reigns Uso match. The next Hell in a Cell match between Sasha and Bayley went 26 minutes. They gave these matches time because the main event went 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So we had Sasha versus Bayley. They tried to do everything they could in this match. It was basically like, Sasha, you've been in 2 other Hell in a Cell matches. We're going to try and make this the best one you've done so far. And I think it was better than the Sasha Charlotte Hell in a Cell match, but I don't know if it was better than the Sasha Becky Hell in a Cell match. I don't know where you weigh in on that.
I would have to go back and watch. I did watch this whole match, just kind of looking at the way that Sasha does what she does all the time, which is put her body on the line to a certain degree where it looks like she's going to break in half.
Right.
But again, that's just how Sasha is. And if she has a career where she goes until she's 35, 40, amazing. If she has a career where she goes until 30, then we're going to be able to point back to some of these moments as the catalyst for her shorter than expected, career.
Exactly. And so the match starts off, and Bayley's got the chair, the symbolic chair that she beat Sasha Banks down with. But Sasha knocked it out of her hand in just the greatest way to knock it out of the ring, outside of where the cell would be, so Bayley, no chair. Even though, as we saw later, plenty of chairs under that ring. So the cell comes down, and Bayley's like, oh, crap, I don't have my chair. So the two start going at it. Bayley had a little bit of an early advantage. Bayley then introduced some kendo sticks into the ring, but Banks stopped her from using them and set up a table. Bayley then tried to put the table away, but Banks used it to drive Bayley into the side of the cage. Banks followed this up with a Meteora into the cell and did another Meteora in the ring for a 2. They fought back and forth for a while until Banks drop-kicked Bayley into the steel steps. Banks suspended a kendo stick between the steps and the cage, but Bayley fought her off. Bayley then put another one there, dropped toe hold onto the sticks. Bayley also used a catapult into the sticks as well. Got a 2 after sliding her back into the ring. Bayley then taunted Sasha Banks, saying, oh, they called you boss in the cell, huh? How about bossing my ass? Banks gave her a sunset flip powerbomb into the side of the cell for a 2. Banks tried a crossface using the chair, but Bayley was able to drop her face first onto the chair. Bayley then followed this up shortly with a running sunset flip powerbomb of her own into a chair that was lodged between the ropes for a close near fall. This looked very painful, and this, like you said, wasn't the only painful-looking thing Sasha did. So Bayley put Banks between the ring and the ring skirt at one point and started nailing her with a kendo stick. Bayley then grabbed duct tape and was trying to pull the duct tape apart, even tried to use her mouth, and the ref goes, "What are you doing?" She goes, "I'm trying to use this duct tape. You want to do it for me? I'm sweaty." The ref's like, "I can't help you." I'm just like, okay. I laughed so hard. So finally she gets the duct tape. She tries to duct tape 2 kendo sticks together and like make a bridge, and they wouldn't cooperate, so she said fuck it and got back into the ring. And I think even Corey Graves is like, the kendo sticks aren't cooperating, Cole. So at one point, Bayley gets back into the ring after the kendo stick spot was just whatever, and Sasha sprays her with a fire extinguisher. So Bayley rolls out to the other side of the ring. Sasha gets back into the ring and starts repeatedly hitting Bayley with kendo stick shots. At one point, Banks drove her into the cell before using a running knee strike against the cell. Banks then hit a frog splash on a chair placed in the middle of the ring. Both of them got hurt. Well, not on the chair. So the chair was in the middle of the ring. Bayley grabbed it to block herself from the frog splash, and they both got hurt off of it. Bayley then slammed Banks on the black mats at ringside, which led to a 2 count. Bayley grabbed a ladder and suspended it on top of 2 chairs in the ring. She slammed Banks on it and spray painted an X on her. Bayley then came off the top with the chair, but Banks moved out of the way and used a double knee strike in the corner, followed up by a Bayley to belly on the ladder. Only got a near fall off of it. Bayley came back with her own Bayley to belly, got a near fall as well. The final stretch here saw Bayley try another suplex using the chair, but Banks countered into a crossface with the chair wrapped around Bayley's head. Bayley would then eventually tap out, and Sasha Banks would become the new SmackDown Women's Champion.
Man, that match was great.
Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed the match. There was one point I forgot to mention. Bayley's got that finisher where she like grabs you and puts you head first into the mat, and they did it on the outside, and Sasha literally just splatted right on the floor.
Yeah, if nothing else, Sasha will always sell her ass off for her opponent. And her taking that and so many other moves. It was kendo sticks galore. By about halfway through the match, they had introduced a chair. They had introduced a table. And I tweeted out, if we see a ladder, we'll see you in December. And by the time we got to the end of this match, we had introduced the 3. So, again, we'll see you in December. I have a feeling... I have an idea of how this feud could go to make it last until Mania, but I think it's going to come down to how WWE sees this feud playing out in terms of whether or not it's worth the money and whether or not it's worth the time. They've already invested a lot of it. So the question is, does it really go until Mania? And can it main event the show?
Very true. I think it could be a WrestleMania main event. If they didn't do the match already here tonight, I felt like if they would have waited to do it till Mania, it could have been built up well as a main event with maybe Sasha winning the Rumble.
Here's the problem. Because WWE has now become the land of pay-per-view themes, once Hell in a Cell became a themed event, that was going to be the first match. They were going to do it inside a cell, but that was going to open the feud. They had the match on SmackDown. I don't count it. The one on the draft episode. Doesn't make sense. I strike from the record. Tonight, Sasha wins. I get it. We had to give her the championship. Now she's going to defend it officially for the first time, let's say, at TLC. That's a long time from now. But if we do Survivor Series in a way where maybe they do a 5-on-5-on-5 women's match and the champions are all involved this time, or a triple threat with all the NXT, SmackDown, and Raw women's champions, we'll get around it somehow. So we get to December. Bayley's going to pin Sasha and win back the women's championship and brutalize the hell out of Sasha. Maybe do a stretcher job, maybe get her out of the ring, whatever it is, gone for now. Come back at the Rumble, Sasha wins the Rumble, go to Mania, Sasha wins at Mania, and then we got to do one more match, whoever it is. It could be Bayley, it could be anyone else. In terms of Bayley and Sasha, now Sasha's taken 2 of the matches, Bayley's taken 1. So now we'll go into post-Mania. You can either have Bayley challenge Sasha and say, I've never seen you win the big one. You've never defended your championship successfully, and then have Sasha win that first defense. Or they can do that with literally any other woman on the roster and just kind of blow it out. Right. As long as it's not Bianca Belair.
And I like making reference to the whole, you can win the title on a big show, but you're never able to successfully defend it.
Exactly.
So going forward, backstage, Charlie Caruso asked MVP who he has chosen to represent the Hurt Business tonight. She was smart enough to notice that Bobby Lashley was the only one ready to compete. So she said, oh, is it Bobby Lashley? Is he ready to step up? And MVP's basically going, step up. He's the CEO, and he's the one that proved. It basically said something along the lines of, I didn't write it down verbatim, but he's like, he's the CEO. He's the one that's always ready to go and ready to prove to us what we need to be doing. They then said, who are you going to choose to represent Retribution? And Benjamin goes, how about the guy in the funny mask? Cedric and MVP were confused, and he goes, oh, the slapjack one. I liked, after Ali made the challenge earlier, Mia Yim, or Retaliation, sent out a tweet just going, give me Shelton Benjamin. And if you know their relationship personally, that was the funniest thing.
It was great. I love that. The only other thing I would have done is weeks ago have Naomi join the Hurt Business and then have Naomi take on Mia Yim or whatever, Retaliation or Reckoning, whichever name she's going by.
That's not a bad idea. I like that, actually, because we need a female who can take on Mia Yim.
Yes, please.
So Bobby Lashley then said, I'll take on any of them, whether it's Slapjack or somebody else. And MVP said Bobby has even graciously agreed to put the U.S. title on the line. So when they said that, I was like, okay, maybe it's Slapjack. But now that they're telling us the title's on the line, maybe Ali. But it was just Slapjack in a 3.5-minute match. So my first thing was, Bobby had Slapjack cornered a couple of times during this match. Why didn't you rip the mask off of him? Why didn't he take the mask off of him?
Man.
I guess it's the same thing of, why haven't they taken Kalisto's mask off of him in matches? Well, I mean, actually, I think Darrell did. But nonetheless, T-Bar and Mace came out afterwards. Not much to really talk about in this match other than Slapjack got a little offense early, got put in the hurt lock, tapped out. T-Bar and Mace came down immediately with Ali. Ali instructed them to go after Lashley, but Lashley fought him off. Lashley left Ali alone as he waited for the rest of the Hurt Business to come in, and Ali looked scared and bailed. And Mia Yim was there at ringside, but again, couldn't really do anything. And my first question is, why is anybody scared of Retribution? Fiend can take them all on by himself. Bobby Lashley can take them all on by himself. Like, we're supposed to think it's 5-on-1 or 5-on-4 or however. You only need one to take out all of them. It makes no sense.
The smartest thing they did with Retribution was give them Ali.
Yes.
The worst thing that happened to Ali was being put with Retribution. And by the way, Mustafa Ali, he is not Ric Flair in 1989. He cannot beg off that way. It doesn't work. It doesn't look good. It was just a bad look. If they're trying to turn Retribution into a Halloween joke, they've succeeded. And that's the way they think sometimes in WWE. That we popped a rating with the Molotov cocktails and the two cinder blocks going through the door at the Performance Center, and then we rushed it to bring in, whoever in their masks and bring out Mace and T-Bar and Slapjack. And those guys, by the way, kudos to them for trying to keep this whole thing afloat on social media the whole time and doing a phenomenal job. They deserve all the money, all the adulation in the world, because God knows creative did not do anything for them, to the point where Mercedes Martinez was like, peace out, put me back in NXT. So for them to go as far as to introduce Ali as the leader, everyone was like, great, this is going to be awesome. And then he's not on TV the next week. And then the next week he's jobbed out to the Fiend. And then he says this amazing promo where he ties in the hacker gimmick and they do all the creative bits and bobs tied together. And then they do tonight. And Slapjack is going to get the hell over because of this stupid mask and his crazy jumping around the ring style. I'll buy it. But I can't handle what they're not doing to Retribution. They've killed it already.
I mean, you're not wrong at all. And that was going to be my next question to you, and you kind of said it. You're going to get over because of the mask. How long till they start trying to sell Retribution masks?
Oh, it'll be up before Halloween. I mean, Halloween is in a few days.
I mean, I expected those already. But, I mean, if you want a Slapjack mask, all you got to do is go buy a Casey Jones Ninja Turtle mask.
Maybe they're waiting on the trademarks to come in.
So going forward, we got a recap of the whole Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre feud, as that was our main event tonight, Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre with the WWE Championship on the line. And as we've said multiple times, yes, Randy Orton is your new WWE Champion. So McIntyre came out first, but he was attacked from behind by Randy Orton, who was dressed as a stagehand wearing pants and a hoodie. And I was like, okay, Orton going to wrestle in pants. But then about 30 seconds in, I realized, no, he's got his trunks on. Those pants are coming off eventually. My question is, do they slide off, or does he Garza them and rip them off? But he just took them off camera about, 10 minutes into the match, as they were slowly throughout this match sliding farther and farther down. Good thing he was wearing those tights, because his ass was full just right out most of that. So the match starts off, like I stated, with Orton attacking McIntyre before McIntyre even gets into the cell. McIntyre gets the best of Randy Orton, slams the door closed, and tells the referee, lock it. McIntyre was fully in control, tossing Orton around the ring, even using chairs early on. McIntyre tried following up with some steel steps. He hit Orton once, and Orton dodged it a second time. McIntyre set it for a Claymore kick, and Orton moved, and he hit his leg into a chair before diving into a previously injured jaw, driving the chair, Orton, into the jaw of McIntyre. Orton took over from here, targeting McIntyre's jaw. Orton was cut off briefly by McIntyre, who's the thumb to the eye, or Orton used the thumb to the eye, and pushed McIntyre into the steel steps. They traded strikes in the ring, but Orton got the better of it with a backbreaker. Traded strikes again, and McIntyre fired up with a clothesline, overhead suplex, and a neck breaker. Orton tried to fight back on the outside, but McIntyre suplexed him. Just a phenomenal belly-to-belly suplex through a table where it looked like McIntyre used no effort to just, Orton went up so easily. We then got the fake "This is awesome" chants that they played through the building. We even at one point got the chants where it sounds like the fans are stomping, like a dun 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 dun, trying to hype up the guys in the ring. We don't need any of that from a fake crowd. It just kind of pulls you out of the match. It's cool when it's a real crowd doing it, but not when it's a fake crowd. So at one point, McIntyre was going back to the ring when Orton kicked the ropes into his groin and used a draping DDT for a 1. Orton then grabbed bolt cutters, and Byron Saxton yelled, "Oh my God!" We assumed the bolt cutters were coming into play because they came into play on Monday and they didn't really do much with them. So Orton opens the cage door, looks up, and then leaves. And my first thought was, so the title doesn't mean anything to Randy Orton if he's just willing to leave, but McIntyre stops him. Orton does get the better of McIntyre as they fight at ringside. He looks up again, and then he tries to leave. McIntyre stops him. Orton gets the better, looks up again, and finally climbs to the top. So Orton climbs to the top, and the way they've got these big screens in the Thunderdome, if there were actual fans wouldn't have been able to see them at all because they were behind and in front of these screens to make them look like they were in like a dome on top of the cell. It was a good visual on television. Wouldn't have been in person. So Orton apparently had this plan all along, and he had his little red lightsaber looking pipe, and he tried to attack McIntyre with it. Orton hit him low with the pipe. Orton then began just climbing right back down. Like 90 seconds after they were both finally up top and standing, they're climbing back down. McIntyre follows. Orton struggles to get his footing as they start to fight hanging on the cage. They basically did the Seth Rollins Ziggler spot where they're fighting on the cage, and finally one person gets knocked off and goes through the announce table. They were halfway up the cage. You add the height to it. They were anywhere between 12 to 16 feet high, maybe, when McIntyre fell off the side of the cage and went through the announce table. Orton climbed down, got off, and McIntyre was bleeding from the mouth here. They eventually made their way back into the ring as McIntyre sold a lot, but didn't sell it enough for me because once they got back around the cage and into the cell or whatever, McIntyre was just back on his feet ready for a Claymore. And I'm like, okay, you think you're Mick Foley trying to no-sell falling off the cage. Cool. So he goes for the Claymore kick. Orton ducks it. Orton then hits an RKO and pins him to become the brand new WWE champion. So with that, Randy Orton's the champion. Orton walks out of the cell with the belt, and the show just goes off the air. No angle at the end. We barely see Drew after the match is over. It's just Orton with the belt, and he's just kind of like, cool, I'm the champion now. Very flat finish to me.
Yeah. Very flat finish. So a couple of things before I try not to rant. So talking about the sounds coming through, that this is awesome and the holy shit and all that stuff. Would you believe that is not actually piped into the Amway Center? The talent don't hear that.
No, I know.
They don't hear the music. They hear nothing. So really, it does absolutely nothing for any of the talent to boost them up. It's kind of funny in a way, but that's the one thing with the Thunderdome screens, like you said. So it was all constructed to come in. They actually, as far as I know, raised the actual Amway Center owned screens and had to make separate enclosures to hang the cell.
Right.
So if anyone noticed, there was that. The drone shots were amazing. Trying to get those top shots around the cell. But yeah, I mean the all red everything motif was a little much for me. Red cell, red bolt cutters, red pipe. It was excessive. And maybe the red chair from the ambulance match could have made an appearance. I don't know. And then getting to that bump from the cage, Randy Orton's 40 years old. He wasn't taking that bump at 35. He wasn't going to take it now. I'm positive that Drew McIntyre was more than okay to take it because that's been his whole title reign. So he wasn't going to take it. But you know what? The backslide was a cute callback. It was hilarious because it's Randy Orton's Achilles because he has terrible shoulders.
Right.
And now
I forgot about that.
Yeah. And now Randy Orton is 5-3 in Hell in a Cell. So I don't need to see Randy Orton versus The Fiend or Bray Wyatt again. We saw that. I'm done with it. We didn't see The Fiend, but we saw Bray. And still, it is what it is. It's not great. But then they did something even more frightening. And it's not even Halloween yet. Did you hear when Tom Phillips brought up the fact that Randy Orton has tied Triple H's world title reigns at 14? I'm scared. We know where that goes. When you bring up Triple H and title reigns, he immediately says, wait, he did what to my title reigns? He did what to my record? No. Suit me up. We're going to war.
Oh, Lord.
So I'm afraid. When you invoke Triple H's name in competition, you will get Triple H in competition.
Right. But I mean...
700-pound stairs. Sorry, everyone's been talking about it all night. 700-pound stairs.
Right. But that was Hell in a Cell. Remember, guys, if you want to be part of the show, you can do so by texting in to 510-906-1341. Again, the number is in the live chat, 510-906-1341. With that, we do have a couple of text messages here. This person says, with all that's going on with Roman Reigns and the Usos, do you think this will lead to Roman versus The Rock at Royal Rumble or WrestleMania? We already talked about that. We do think that maybe it'll lead to something with The Rock at Mania. This person says, with Orton as WWE champion, do you see the plan being going forward for him? This is kind of a weird written message. What do you see happening with The Miz now that he's Mr. Money in the Bank? What do you see with Orton? I honestly don't know because Miz, here's the thing. I don't think Miz can keep that contract too long, or Otis can come back to him and go, negligence. You haven't cashed it in yet. Negligence.
Otis isn't smart enough.
And we don't have Tucker to help him either anymore. But I don't know what they do with Miz as far as the briefcase goes. Randy Orton, Edge comes back maybe at the end of Survivor Series. Orton's a sole survivor like he's been for many years, and Edge shows back up. Kind of a callback to when Orton was a sole survivor and The Undertaker showed up at Survivor Series maybe.
I made a comment a while ago, actually well before Edge went down with injury. Probably as they were going to their match at WrestleMania, that you could easily do Edge versus Orton for the Universal title at the time at WrestleMania. The reason being, the Universal title was commonly used as a prop to bring back the legends.
True.
And there was proof in that. You had Brock coming back, you had Goldberg coming back. No one was, and then you had Bray with that title. It was never a serious championship. So to put it on Edge, or to put it on Orton, whoever, to lead to Edge's retirement made perfect sense. Now to do that with the WWE title, I think it's a little far-fetched. The only way it works out is if Edge comes back, challenges Orton for that championship, and loses, and therefore retires. That's the highest stakes you can do. Put a retirement match on. Edge is ready to go. He's ready to, not ready to perform, but ready to retire and have a meaningful story to see him out. And as for The Miz, he's just going to tease cash-ins for the next few months until finally something happens. That's The Miz. He's going to be a chicken shit heel, and it's going to be great. And we're going to sit there and love it, and we're going to watch Miz and Mrs. and be like, oh my God, this is the funniest thing ever. And then Miz is probably going to cash in successfully at the best time.
I mean, you mentioned Edge and everything and saying, he needs to do a retirement match. I believe Edge signed a 2 or 3 year deal, so he's going to be around for a little bit. So maybe they put the title on him.
Goldberg also has 2 matches a year left, so here we go.
And one other text message this person says, you mentioned Friday, Booker T outright teased Tessa Blanchard to WWE. What did you say? I didn't catch it. I never said that. I don't think I ever said anything about... Oh, I think it was on Twitter. I may have said something about Booker mentioned that there's a 3rd or 2nd generation female still out there ready to come in. When she was talking to Bianca Belair, and I think he mentioned Charlotte Flair and said there's another 2nd or 3rd generation woman out there ready to come in. I think I may have made a reference to that on Twitter or something, but that's what that was, with Booker kind of teasing, hey, there's this female that everyone knows is free agent that is, and she can come here to WWE. I don't think it was Booker knowing anything. Maybe Booker was just talking out of his ass like he normally does.
It was Rachel Evers he's talking about.
I don't know. WWE just let her go back in April.
That's right. Hey, they're bringing people back. Tino Sabatelli's back into the PC, so who knows? Some people might show up again.
Very true.
Please stop giving Booker T attention. Please stop feeding the troll that is Booker T. I'm personally over him and the way that he talks about, especially other POC wrestlers. He sucks with it. He can't get out of his own way when talking about other wrestlers of color. It's absolutely disgusting. He won't put them over. He continuously just back talks them, and everything he says is just a backhanded compliment. He did it again on Talking Smack with the way that he not only presented to Sasha, but also to Bianca Belair and to her husband, Montez Ford. It was absolutely incredible.
It is very weird. I've always thought that.
And Mark Henry is also guilty of doing that, but to less of a degree, because Henry just does that to everyone now. True.
But with that, guys, I want to say thank you for joining us here. Twitch.tv/PWUnlimited to talk about tonight's Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. I want to thank Joel again for joining us here. Joel, where can they find you?
You can find me everywhere at Joel Pearl. I think it's down in that lower third. And you can also find me and my co-host Tim, the other Tim, at Tim and Joel Pod. We are on every single Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch at Tim and Joel Pod, or on YouTube if you search Tim and Joel Call It in the Ring. And once a week, usually on the weekends, we have our little daily draw that shows up on the PWUnlimited YouTube channel. So go check that out. We had our Hell in a Cell predictions earlier today. A lot of fun, and I think we kind of miffed a lot of it. We didn't do great this round. I got Sasha though, so I got that going for me.
Hey, that works.
Yay.
Well, that, guys, I want to say thank you for joining us here on Twitch. If you missed any of this live review or any of our previous live reviews, you can check those out at youtube.com/Pro Wrestling Unlimited. You can check us out on social media, facebook.com/Pro Wrestling ULTD. You can follow us on Instagram by searching for Pro Wrestling Unlimited, and you can follow us over on Twitter at PWUnlimited. We'll be back tomorrow night for the 4th night in a row talking Monday Night Raw. So have a great night, guys, and we'll see you next time.